Okay, so I divvied up the starting capital. Remember, these 500s aren't in here. I use 1s, 5s, 25s, 100s. I know other people choose other things. I find this the most efficient use of my chips. For opening bit, by the way, first thing I did when I came down here, I thought about going outside, and I ended up doing that. I ended up going out, but the first thing I saw was sitting right on my stump there, Stumpy. Used to be named Piney, but then he got a lot shorter. Just this beautiful hawk. I don't know what kind. I could make guesses, but I didn't see him all that long, because here I am standing, at the window getting ready to put my shoes on, and I see there's something weird there. I have a couple turkey feathers stuck in there or whatever, but something looks wrong, and I study him, and my existence was enough to spook him. I wish I could have gotten the camera and caught him. It's this beautiful guy. I have not seen a hawk in my yard. We get hawks and eagles circling around the hill. I don't think it was an eagle. Didn't look quite big enough, but hard to tell. Anyway, I'm going to go through my mechanism for dealing with privates. This is the mechanism I use for 1830. It doesn't work perfectly in all games, but this feels 1830 enough that I kind of want to do it. Unfortunately, there's 7 minors instead of 6. So let's think about this for a while, because a friend of mine came up with one rule in 1830 that he always followed, and that I've sort of taken up to, which is minors, the privates are important. If you're the first player and you buy this, you will get 2. You may not get the 2 you'd want, but it seems like a pretty good deal. And here, in 5 players, I'm guaranteed 2. I'm not sure I want to follow that here because it's not 6. In a 6-player game, well, in less than a 6-player game, you will get 2. In a 6-player game, you won't necessarily. You buy this, you might end up getting stuck with something at random, which doesn't work very well. But here, it seems to apply. So I'm going to give him a 50% chance of just grabbing the Mexico City Acapulco, because he will get a chance at another one offered straight up to buy. Of course, it might be these 2. He's going to go with that. So he exchanges his money, grabs this. Now, let's see if the same thing applies. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are left. There's still only 5 players. That puts this in the same kind of realm. However, I might not get a minor because of that. What we may end up seeing is these 2 players who bought these guys will end up with these things if they don't do it. I'm still going to go 50-50. I don't think the minors are that important in this game. Could be very wrong, though. He is not going to do that. So now what I do is I roll a die, 1 through 6, to see which one of these he picks up. Had this guy failed on this, I would have skipped that one. But I'm going to give him an extra chance at getting the KC. And indeed, that's what he's going to go for. Okay. Well, things are just going to start falling now, because I don't know how good the different minors are. But getting a guaranteed minor seems worth more than anything else. I'm going to get rid of this because it doesn't count. Well, it does count as a certificate. He's going to run the company separate, so he'll keep that. So the thing is, normally minors, you count them as certificates. You count the placard, but because there is a card for it, it kind of makes sense. Oops. It's this guy down here. Pretty much the same decision across the board. I think everybody wants to buy their minor railroad if they're given an option to do so. You know what? Let me make a roll on each one. On a 1, I will not buy the miner. So for player number 3 there, he goes, player number 4, and now player number 5. Just to shake things up a little bit, but I can't see, you know, my experience with miners is they're going to make more money than these things. And since these have been neutered in terms of their ability to knock other companies out, to be able to pull a lot of money out of a company, you can only take 1.5. They're not that good. Well, I think the Mexican International is definitely better than the Mexican National because I have that capacity to throw it in. It also makes 20 bucks off of only 100, which seems like a better deal. And so everybody is decided. Am I going to refuse to buy a miner? No. Or a private. I don't think that's worthwhile. So the Chihuahua goes over here to join these. He gets that for free with this. And now he gets the presidency of the Mexican National and gets to set its stock value. Absent any other information, I'm going to set its stock value at 90. Ooh, no 100 here. Okay. I'm not going to put it up there because it's not going to be moving around. Although technically it may be there. Let me see what the order is here. Ugh. Table's not as thin as my other one, but it's still a little thin. Yeah, I think it's got to go up there because its stock value can change, which will impact. So the big question is, this showed up here first, so the next 90 company actually goes under it, is less, you know, runs later in the game. That has put us to here, so priority is officially here. I'm going to keep these cards around, but I don't think I need them for anything. Thought I might need them for bidding. These shares are locked in and can't be purchased. We're on the first player then. It's got $400. I could start the Chihuahua at 90. Buy 4 shares of it. That gets a 5th share here. I could get 5 shares of any other company at 80. I'm going to look at the board, think, I'll come back and report. So I'm sitting on this company. As was indicated, there's a certain track laying synergy that a miner should be able to achieve when working with a major company. You don't know how much that's going to actually apply here. We shall see. However, in fact, I may be cutting things off if I'm not careful. What I'm looking at with companies is there's a few companies that are near this miner. Mexico City, obviously, but that's the National Railway. I can't touch that. Other options are this one up here in Matamoros, which makes 20 initially. It'll go up to a 40 eventually. Okay. Veracruz and the UNY. Okay. Let's take a look at what these look like for other reasons as well. Because that might be important in addition. So, one thing that's appealing up here is San Antonio goes up to a 60. Now, if we look, Mexico City goes up to a 50. This goes up to a 50. The U.S. is where all the money is. Huh. So I was thinking the game suggested making it down to Merida is important. I'm not so sure anymore. I'm not so sure anymore. Veracruz ends up being a 40, the same value as this, but with a $30 port that I can hit. Of course, there's a $50 here, so I don't know. It's not obvious to me that is of value. Now, wait, what is this? La Mochis. Oh, that's over here. Okay. Another option would be to try to dominate this route, which doesn't sound all that bad. So Texas, Mexico only has 2 tokens in it. FCP way up here has tons and tons of tokens. However, it is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. There's a lot of track to build. Early on, though, it's got a nice run. That's interesting. The UDY only has 2 tokens. One of them goes here. The other one probably has to go in Veracruz. That seems like kind of a loser company to me. It's got a share that comes out. Somebody will eventually start it. The Mexican Railway is this one here at Veracruz. Got to remember about the mail run too. So a starting place of 30 is nicer than these 20s that most of the starting companies are going to be in. Intriguing. The Mexican Railway gives me 3 tokens, which is a little better. I don't need a token here, so I could run here up into Mexico City. This is kind of nice because it's cheap to get up here. And then the Tampico could be coming down this way, helping build track for me. So that's definitely an option. Although this has 3 tokens, I don't see it as terribly interesting. Right now I'm looking at these 2. But we'll keep thinking, because the Texas Mexico, I feel like this has the best synergy possible. But I'm not so sure I like it. Mexican Central is way out here. It's in a location, where it's got a lot of central power, which could be very, very valuable, but it only has 2 tokens. I don't see it as worth trying for. National Railways, not available yet. And the Chihuahua. Oh, did I screw up? No. The Chihuahua is in Chihuahua. Yeah, that's not helpful to me. I don't know. Oh, it's up here. Seems like kind of a mixed bag. Sure, I get a nice, run early on. It's got a lot of tokens, which makes it more appealing than this. Although I get one here, which is useful, but kind of out of the way. One down here. Mexico City turns into a 50. And starts out as only a 20, but goes up to a 40 in green, which is kind of nice. I think I'm going to go for that synergy. I'm going to buy the Mexican Railway presidency. For 80. Put one up here. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to keep that off until it starts, but it'll start. I'll put that here at 80. It starts in the red area. Something else I didn't tell you. And I will buy this for 160. Which will leave me enough money. Stupid idiot. As opposed to a smart idiot. here so I don't drop quite as many next time. Let's put this over here, and he will take control of the Mexican Railway. I think that's a good choice for him. A lot of thinking here because unlike, 1830 or whatever, I am not at all used to the land layout for this particular game. This is the one that comes with that. Okay. And it doesn't close, which is potent. Sonora Baja, that's going to be B. That's over here. Using all the thinking that I've had in mind, I'm running into two real options here to try to use the synergy. Well, maybe three. The Chihuahua seems almost the most obvious. Lots of tokens, a run up here. The FCP has a better mail run, but its long-term prospects are not terribly good. And then there's this Mexican Central, which gets me a little closer to Mexico City, but I probably have to spend my second token there if I can get there. So I am going to buy the Chihuahua. Yep. If I can find it. It's got to be this. How much money do I have? Well, I also have 400. So again, 80. There's one Chihuahua already out there. I could put it up at 90. Do I want to do that? Do I want to do that? $90 means I'd have more cash in my treasury. I'd have about $40, I'd have $40 left over in here, which might get me another share fairly quickly. I'm going to roll randomly on that because getting 5 shares of my company sounds good. $80 is not a low starting value. Doesn't feel low. I've got the mail run coming in and stuff. So odd, I will go up to 90. I do not. I will also go at 80. It actually feels more like the proper price. And again, 160 in here. Some cash. Let's move that over. Secondary advantage to the lower price, although I wouldn't do this as anything, intentional or whatever. But in addition to me being able to spend all my money, I'm also lowering the value of his share, which, if I put it at 90, I'm just doing him a favor that I wouldn't want to do otherwise. Now, if nobody started the Chihuahua, he probably would, assuming he had enough money to, which he'd have to start it pretty low. Okay. That brings me to the Southeastern Railway here. That's C, all the way down here. And we've seen the Mexican Railway go. We've seen the Chihuahua go. This is hard because I have to make a decision as to whether or not I want to hook up the UDY, which looks shitty to me. First of all, it's stuck behind Veracruz, so my only way out to Mexico is through Veracruz. This track's already kind of built. Once this gets up to green, the green tracks, a lot of them, the non-named cities, have two circles, so I'd be able to run through and make it to Guatemala or maybe Mexico City or something. But as it stands, it doesn't look terribly good. Which means I feel kind of out in the open. It's possible there might be some synergy with the Southern Pacific over here. But I am not seeing that as being terribly valuable. You notice I'm not rolling a die for most of these decisions, right? I feel like my lack of knowledge allows me to insert enough randomness. This has a nice initial mail run and makes some good money early on. I almost feel like that's the best I can do. That trying to go for some kind of synergy is not going to work. So we'll buy that also at 80 because we have $400 on hand. That presidency, I don't know what I wanted to say. I had something I wanted to say about that. Oh, getting that floated early seems kind of valuable. It's got a lot of tokens. Yeah, it's way out in the corner. If it starts late in the game, it's going to be really stunted. But my hope is, although it's going to be expensive to cut through, that I'm going to be able to build some interesting track. I only want to go through this mountain range once, or maybe through La Mochis, paying for the cheaper routes going through. Terrain is really important in these games, and spending a lot of money, 120 bucks, is a big chunk of money compared to 60 that I can pay to go through Hermosillo, which doesn't seem like a bad place to go through. And my bag fell. I'm feeling this whole thing is going to go, but all right. Now we come to the players who have less money. So 330 divided by 5 is essentially I could buy a railway at 60 bucks. That's real low, maybe dangerous. What do I have in my favor? Not much. But I have this here. I would like to start a company. You might make the argument I should roll a die to decide whether or not to start a company, just be an investor. Sometimes just being an investor is very good. I think this guy's going to be forced into the investor role, and I would rather start a company. I can't sell my Chihuahua yet, even though the price is fixed. So what has sort of the cheapest start that looks decent? Veracruz doesn't look bad, but somebody bought that. UDUI I do not like. I would have considered this. So now what we have left is the Mexican Central, the Tex-Mex, kind of like, Southern Pacific, which, I can hook up to Mexico City really easily. I don't know what else it gives me, though. And honestly, this hooks up just as easily, but I'll need a token here. Southern Pacific has more tokens, and that UDY that looks like a piece of garbage to me. I think we're going to go with the Texas Mexico. Over. And we'll be starting that at 60. Down there. And see how that works. A lot of certificates over there, right? Yeah, but they're not worth that much. Final player, 270. 270 means if I wanted to start a new company, I would have to start it at under 60, which can't be done. I could conceivably have started the Chihuahua if I had needed to. I would only need 4 shares of that. Which 4 shares? Sounds like it's going to be 60 anyway, which isn't great either. So I'm allowed to buy other things. Now, this is where it gets tricky because I don't want to float anything for anyone. but I can look around and calculate out and see that everybody has enough money that that doesn't make a damn bit of difference. So what looks like it might make good money early on? The reason I'm asking now, rather than waiting to see, hey, how do they set up their track? How does this all develop? Is that by buying shares now, I might be able to get priority earlier. If I buy shares later, I'll be doing lots of stock turns on other people. But right now, other people are going to have to do stock turns to fill out their companies. So this has a 6-run set up real quick and real easy. I think that's the one I'm going to go for. On the other hand, the Texas Mexico at $60, I probably am going to want to buy a share of that, but I think I want the FCP first. I think that's the most likely to make good money, so I'll just buy one of them. Come back over here. You know, I think these other players are going to fill out their own railways, at least to the point where they're going to float. They might end up buying a share of somebody else's thing. There's reasons not to be fully invested in your own railway, especially if it's not going to make the best money. I'm worried I may have fucked up. So this guy paid, everybody paid par on everything, 120 and 180 is 400. No, that doesn't make sense. He paid 120 and 180. 300. Okay. You should have $150 left, by my count. And I seem to have fucked up. Because he doesn't. 120, 180. Yeah. Maybe I paid. What would $60 give me? 60, 75, 100. Yeah. Somehow I paid an extra 60 on him. This is not good if I'm going to be making mistakes this early. Let me check everybody else's cash just to make sure. 180. I don't know. I'm not going to be able to do this. 180 and 80 is 260, 275, 300, 450. He looks good. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I did. I probably paid twice before I pulled the share or something. So now we're back on him. Everybody's bought their third share. Now, as with most 18xx's, holding 2 shares of something may not be a great idea. I'm going to be able to buy 2 more certificates. Everyone else is going to buy 2 more certificates. I'm going to be last in priority. So if I buy a Second Pacific, it's possible that he could ruin the company and give it to me. It's probably not that likely. If I was convinced the Pacific was going to run for tons more money, I would probably buy it. But I'm not convinced of that. The fact that the companies can only buy 1 train at a time means that I'm not going to see huge differences in income between the different companies. So at $80 each, well, what would a $60 company do me? A $60 company, a $60 share would leave me with 130. So I could actually buy 3 shares of the Texas Mexican as opposed to 2 shares of other things. That doesn't sound like as bad an idea. I think it's going to make about as much money as anything else. However, it is the most likely that it'll get dumped on me, and I'm sitting directly after the player who owns it. So I will never be able to hold it in good shape. However, I don't think that there's much chance of him raping it with only one company and until the 3 trains come out and that money is available. How long will it take the 3 trains to come out? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I definitely want to buy one of it, though. The reason is it'll give me more flexible money available later on. You know, yes, I could buy 2 shares of other things, but I'll have some additional cash that'll let me buy another share more quickly. Let's fill other people out. Back around to the guy who has the interesting choices. Texas, Mexico, and the Chihuahua have both floated. I put the cash out on them. No 500s in there. I'm just putting hundreds in because I can't get rid of. Yeah, I can't use that money from the bank. The 500s. That would, even though it's more convenient, it would confuse the bank situation. So he's got the hard choice of 2 shares or 3. Buy 2 more shares or buy one more share. And I think only on a 1 am I 1 or 2 I'm going to go with the Texas Mexican and buy the 2 additional shares. It's a dangerous position to be in, though, but we'll do it anyway. I mean, it's not dangerous in the sense that like I'm going to get screwed right away, but it's dangerous in the sense that I might have to sell my shares earlier than I'd want to. But then I can buy other shares of stuff, and I'm hoping I make at least some money off of that before I have to start selling them off. I think that's going to be the case, mainly because there's some bumpers, some padded bumpers put on this game to prevent it from really allowing you to screw people over quickly. And back again. Most notably, Texas, Mexico can't blow a lot of money, buy all the 2s in a 3 train, and then dump these into it, right? That would be the 1830 way to do things if somebody picked up multiple shares of your company. Because now, sure, you've spent some time on your company and wasted that, but you've pulled, twice the value of your privates back into your pocket. You've doubled your money on a lot of your investment, and then you still can sell your shares. So you could do that right on turn 1, basically, in 1830. You can't do it here. Mexican floats. The guy who owns the Chihuahua Pacific, that's already floated. He puts the rest of his money into the Pacific Railroad because, yeah, I agree with him. It's going to make the most money. Sure. The alternative might be to buy the Texas Mexican, have more cash on hand. But the thing is, that extra cash on hand doesn't really help you. So if this makes a little bit more money, you'll reach the Texas Mexican as your next rail more rapidly than if you bought a Texas Mexican and were trying to reach the Pacific. Just you're going for the same total amount of cash. The owner of the Pacific Railway, here's the thing. He could buy another share of his own company, which, he agrees with everyone. It's going to do well. That's why he bought it, right? It's going to do well early on. But there's also the option of, hey, do I want to buy a share in something else just to diversify a little bit? There's an inherent advantage to investing in other people's shares as opposed to your own. If you are holding your own, you're only allowed to hold 60% of your own stock, right? So if I'm already up to 50, that means I can only buy 1 more share of my stuff, and then I have to buy others, and the others might be gone. Now, sure, my own might be gone too, but usually you can engineer so that you can pick up that last share at some point in the game if it's worth having. By not paying out or paying out too much or stuff like that. It's very often the case that something else that's yummy you can't get. Is there anything that I really want? I'm gonna go. I guess a 1 or 2. I'll look for somebody else because I do think mine is best, and I only have to hold 50%. 50% is where I'm going. It's not 60. 60 is more painful than 50 because that's my certificate limit. So yeah, I'm gonna buy another. I'm gonna buy another Pacific. This guy has 75, 80, 90 bucks. He could only still buy one share of his own company. So, like everyone else, I'm gonna judge that Pacific FCP is worth having instead and buy a share of that. That puts me down to him. He has 50, 60 bucks. He'll buy his last Tex-Mex. Now, this is kind of an interesting situation, and this is one reason why you do want to buy your own shares. This guy's got 40%. He's got 30. It makes it not as valuable a relationship with a shareholder as most presidents will have. I'm almost splitting this 50-50. That puts this here. Let's make sure I've got the money right, just because I screwed up before. 180, 220, 320, 360. Well, this isn't working either. Yeah, it is. 370 and 80 is 450. Over here, I'm worried about these two for some reason. 240, even though the ones I checked, 320, 420, 440, 450, looks good. These guys are all kind of the same. They have 50 bucks for a minor and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shares at 80 each, so that's 450. So yeah, every one of them is the same. That's going to put me to the end of the stock round, I guess, with priority ending up over here. Nothing's sold out, so nothing would move up. The only thing that could was the Tex-Mex. And now we collect money for the privates. So this gets 25 bucks in income. This gets 30. And these don't produce an income. However, they get to run. So company A gets to run first. Oh, this is a problem. Well, very interesting. I don't have 40 bucks. Didn't realize that. So I get 15 and the company gets 15. I mean, I'll get 40 bucks eventually, but my 2 train is running between this city or town, yeah, this city, and the port town. It's allowed to do that, but yeah. Good thing all of these are hooked up because none of them, they're really weak. They're really weak compared to miners. Wow. Okay. Well, this one not so much. It's hooked up. Okay, so to the B, which is the next one I think in line, that is also in a similar position, making 15 and 15. Wow. You don't have to worry about buying trains at least. And then to the C, which has this, still doesn't have any chance to build track, but I'll be running the same 15 and 15. 20 and 10 is 30. So I guess that doesn't help me that much, honestly. It looks better because I'm hitting 2 cities, but the reality is not really. And in fact, I may have a weaker end setup. Although if I can make it down to Guatemala, I'm making 50 instead. Yeah, those miners are not that impressive. Now we go to the major companies. Mexican's not running. I'm sorry, the National Railway. But the gray, which is the Mexican, gets to run. And I can lay 2 pieces of track. The obvious track would be to swing up into here. And if I wanted to help this, I would have the synergy to do that. And likewise, I could help this, perhaps. How big a deal is that? I don't know.
So it's going to take me 1, 2, 3 track lays to get to there. It'll take me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 track lays to get it hooked up to there. Making 15 a turn, $40. It'll take me 3 turns. So I could speed things up just a wee bit by going up this way. However, that loses me this town. I don't know. Because Mexico City and Tampico are worth the same, I won't be able to run through Tampico, I assume. It's going to be a dot there. I think we'll just hook up to Mexico City. So it's going to cost me $100 to build track. A lot of cost on track building in this. I grab the Veracruz, and again, you got to remember, oh, I didn't really have a lot of choice, did I? This has to go this way. Just had some weird thoughts. Yeah, I've got to go out that way, so I've got to come down this way. Ooh, I bet you that dashed line is like, yeah, it's impassable. Ooh, that's going to be important to watch. Although I'm sure the Veracruz spaces enforce that. It's just, I can't build track going that way. Okay, and I spent my 100. I hooked this up. Now I've got a valid train route, so I have to buy a train. I'm only allowed one. I don't have a lot of options in this game, do I? So I'll buy a deuce. I didn't pay out any dividends. You buy trains after you make your run. Mail run. I don't know if I get it. I have to look that up. I think you got to have a train to get a mail run, but I'm not positive. Yep. You need at least one train during 4.3 of the operating turn. 4.3 B, which is before everything else. Okay. So that's that. We go to the next company in line, and this is kind of hard. It's hard for me to see what these companies are. The logos are not, the FCP is good, but most of the logos are not very easy to see. I believe this next one is the Chihuahua, which is up here. No train. Yeah, I ran all the miners. No train. I can lay some track. I am working with the Sonoran here, and I could lay track heading down 1, 2, 3, 4 over 2 turns and hook that up more quickly. And that would get me a lot of money, comparatively. Another option is I could spend one of my track lays to go up here, but I don't think that gets me as much money. On the other hand, if I want to blow $120, well, what does Matzelen look like? Guess not. Yeah, this is important, because this means I go 1, 2, 3, 4 is my only legitimate, and I can't hook this up. So I was counting 1, 2, 3, 4. I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead to build this. So I don't have the option to either shoot right through. Might be able to do 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be legitimate. But that blasts me through that big 120, and I don't know if that's worth me building. So I am going to play 20. 40. Drop some counters because my shirt's too poochy. So I spend 40 on track. I'm only allowed to build 2 track lights. Now, remember there is an optional rule to allow a third yellow track lay, which would change some of these dynamics, especially in relation to helping out some of the minor companies. These tiles are very thick. It makes I like them that thick, but it makes it kind of more painful when you're including a yellow that's printed on the board. I must buy a train because I hooked things up. And I go back in value. FCP isn't working with anyone. Very clearly what I want to build is 60 into Baja. Shit. I gotta not wear this shirt. 60 into Baja. And then 60 coming down from Hermosillo. And I want to go straight so that I don't have to pay as much. The FCP has to pay some big money, $120. I usually don't think that much about how much is the track going to cost me, but this game, track is expensive. And although I've got room to run 2 trains, I can still only buy 1. Okay. The Mexican Railway, which is first in line, I don't actually get to run. I'm going to swap batteries and then do the Matamoros there, the Texas. Kind of funny, the guy who built the Texas Mexico didn't take into account that he had this KC Mexico and Orient, which gives him the Copper Canyon. I don't know how much he could have taken it into account. I guess he could have bought this instead to try to take advantage of that. That's a kind of neat thing. It's a $20 town space. You're able to build there a little bit more cheaply. He might be able to convince the Chihuahua to give him some money for it. But oh, he doesn't own anything. Not yet. So yeah, that's interesting. But he got kind of shut out of being able to use that very easily. That really links up nicely with the Chihuahua. Okay. Sorry, I like to call it Chihuahua. My first wife used to like to call it that. Call the city that. All right. And these kind of things stick with someone. So no synergy in place here. I have nothing. I'm just running this rail. The most valuable place I can go is up here. Do I want to control other things? I don't know, maybe. Like, could be of some importance, but I think I get the speedy route into Mexico if I want it. I don't see any competition. You know what? This guy could compete, but he can compete anyway. He can build this track and drop a dot. And there's not much I can do about that. So what I'm going to do is head up this way for 20. And look, it's a space that costs nothing. How awesome. It's really one of the things is, I don't think that much about terrain costs. And oh boy, they're high in this game. So starting a railway with little money is a bigger issue than it is with most. That's the end of the operating round. These thick wooden counters doesn't make a damn bit of difference for anyone normally, but because I'm videoing with one hand, I have to play with just my left hand, and it's hard to turn them all over with just that. Actually, we were here in the one operating round left. Now we're back up to the stock round. Let's run another full operating round before we go. Let's take a look at people's money. Nobody's got anything. like basically, they made 15 bucks each. 25, 35, not enough to do anything with. 25, 35, 40. Now I don't have priority, right? I have negative priority. I am the worst person on the board. I could sell one of these for 55 and buy a share of something else. I don't think that really helps me though. So I'm going to hold off and, not use that extra money. Which means everybody passes, priority stays where it is, and we go back down here, nothing's sold out, and we again pay out the private. Look at the minors. 15 bucks isn't going to be enough to get me anything. So we'll run for that same 15 each. This is probably the case for all of them. B. I got enough money now, but yeah. Okay, and C should be in the same boat because he's not hooked up. Okay. All right. That puts me to the big companies and the Mexicans first. We have a run. First we get our mail run. That's 20 bucks. Veracruz is my capital. It's currently at 20. Now, I'm trying to help the A. Still can't really do it. Tampico is going to branch in all directions. So here's what I'm not sure of. See, this goes to a corner and it doesn't go to a corner here. I'm guessing I can rotate this in either direction I wish. Doesn't really, I don't want to look it up. It probably doesn't say. It may, because they all seem to go that way. So, what do I want to do with my new company? Well, I want to hook Tampico up. Therefore, I think I have to do one of a couple of things. I could swing sharply around. That sounds kind of painful, but I don't know that it's that bad. I really need the green to come up. So I guess it kind of doesn't matter. And I leave Tampico more options if I go this way. So that's 60 bucks. 120. Wow, you run through money fast in this thing. 120 bucks. 40 bucks more I want a token. I think Mexico City is going to be important. And I can run a train. All right. My best train runs 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. When you're running for such small money, you don't want to swallow. You want to pay it out because the majority of what you make ends up being in stock value. Nobody else holds any of it, so I get 60, or 6 times 5 is 30 bucks. Not very good, but I also made an additional, I doubled my money because I made the stock value as well by paying out. Now, additional trains. I have the room to run a 2, here, I could run another deuce. What impacts would that have, though? See, I'm kind of short on money. It's not going to make me a whole hell of a lot more. Normally in an 18xx game, especially an 1830 based one, I advocate buy lots of trains, run hard. But what would I be adding if I buy additional trains? First of all, I'd be able to green up stuff, which would help me with Mexico City and things like that. But I would also be able to branch this city and maybe head up this way, which might be more valuable. Let's see what we're looking at. We're looking at a 2-train running here, and then really another 2-train doesn't look terribly useful to me. Getting something going up this way would be, I'd get to hit all these doinkers. But I think I'd rather hold for a 3-train. On a 1, I'm going to change that decision, and I'm going to buy that extra 2-train. Now, some of the impacts of that 2-train are, if this guy gets to buy a 3-train, he gets to dump these into his company and rape the 5th player by handing him a piece of crap, which is worthwhile. Of course, the dump cost isn't that great, so I choose not to buy a train. That feels so alien to me. You have no idea, but the costs in this game and the payoffs just don't align well, like towards buying lots of trains. Okay, so to the Chihuahua. What are we doing with that? We are trying to make... Now, I could blast through the Copper Canyon and make it useless, but I'd rather not. I'd like that there. It looks to me like I want to blast through Durango. So that's $60 more. Oh, I get 20 there. That's going to be hard to remember. It's just such a different thing. $60 more that I got to pay. Okay. And now my train run is a 2. I can run here 30, 50, 60. That's going to be $6 a share. I'm going to pay that out, obviously, for the same reasons as before. So he gets $6 for holding a Chihuahua. Yep, yep, yep. And he only gets 24. I'm finding this an intriguing game because it doesn't match my normal expectations for an 18xx, especially of the 1830 variety. But it doesn't do so with a lot of really painful mechanisms. It does it with this, hey, you got to pay to go anywhere. I'm suspecting the India is going to be kind of like this, which I should be getting soon. I don't know when that's shipping. Or do I have it already? I don't know. No, I certainly don't. It's hard. I have enough things on order from GMT now that I can't buy things used anymore. Life is weird. Okay, does the Chihuahua want 2 trains? I don't think so. I really don't see much value to it. So I could hook this up for 50 and this for 50, and that would up my income. There's no question of that. But see, I'm going to get outstripped by that FCP. That's the only problem here. The only real worry I have about all of this. But buying more trains, buying more 2 trains, I think just helps other people. However, I don't really have a great use for a 3 train. I have a lot of tokens. A lot of tokens might mean something. I could branch down and cut in maybe. Oh boy, I have decent money. I haven't been blasting as hard. These guys blasted pretty hard. I've been saving money. All right, odds I buy another train. Okay. I mean, this is where my instinct is buy that next train, buy that next train, you want it, you know? But again, the decision is harder in this game than, it doesn't match my usual needs. Okay, it looks like the Texas Mexico is going to get to buy a 3 train then, which means he's in a lot of trouble. Okay. So, the FCP gets to go next. It pulls in 30 for its mail contract. Yay! Big money, big prizes. And we're not going to be able to help this at all. So, what are we doing? Because we want multiple trains. We have no towns near us. 20. Hey, cheap build. Okay. And that says I get to run my 2 train. I'll run for 6 a share like everyone else. I'll pay it out like everyone else. Everyone says, oh, FCP is good. Well, it's producing the same as everyone else, but it's going to have another choo-choo. Don't know how big a deal that is either. But it definitely wants that. I have this OCD thing where it can't have change that can't be converted upwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the big 30. Got enough money to start doing things. I'm only allowed to buy 1 train. I can't, push my way through to that 3 train yet. I will be able to soon. So, but there's $100 for the 2 train. Let's spread these 3s out. There are a lot of them. One of them, all miners closed, trade in miners for corresponding NDM. Okay. Just want to keep track of what the reminders are. That's the FCP. And now it's time for the Texas Mexico, and this guy's going to regret what he did. Okay. So the Texas Mexico will be under new ownership soon. What are we doing? We are going to, first of all, this is 120 plus 60. I have to set aside 180 bucks to pay myself. Anything beyond that I can burn. What would I like to help? It's a good question. The Western Central, or the Mexico Central, I could hook up. What else is around? The National Railways, they're going to show up. The Southern Pacific, I might as well set some track up for that next thing. I don't care about any of this. I don't really want to hook that stuff up. And in order to do this, don't know if we're hurting it that much. Go through here for 20. Guess we'll go through Monterey this way. There's that. We want to neuter it in terms of dots. So let's buy a dot up here. That looks like a stupid place. Mainly, if we're starting this, we want to be in control over there. 180, well, we get to make our run. Single 2 train. I didn't take my mail run. Gotta remember that. Single 2 train runs for 50. A little worse than everyone else. Obviously we pay out. Swallowing would be stupid. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 3 is 15. No one else owns any of that loser stock. And I will buy both of these into the treasury. Now the income's going to go there. And I have to buy a train. We buy the first 3 train. The greens become available. We've moved into a new phase change. There's a few things that take place here. Major companies may buy privates. We paid 1.5 times. Beginning the next stock round, 2 operating rounds between each. That is the end of the operating round. And we go up to the stock round. And exciting stuff's going to happen. Because he's going to dump his 4 shares, dropping the price way down. This guy may end up in a great position because of this, honestly. But his railway's been neutered. The money's been taken out. So I don't know. You know, this may be the situation of the second player to own the B&O. Although this thing's just not, doesn't look like it's set up to make the kind of money that I'd really want. So yeah, I don't know about that. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to load this video up. But I just want you to be aware, he's going to drop his shares of it. He's going to end up as the president. And this guy's going to start a new company. Really, his choices, because this thing sucks. At least it looks like it does. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But it looks shitty. He's probably going to buy this. But there's a possibility he goes for the Southern Pacific Mexican variant. It has more tokens, which is really appealing, but it doesn't have a clear route anywhere, although it's not that much worse than this, so maybe he goes for the SP. All right, up it goes.